before it all went wrong. It was a hot and sticky summer night in Los Angeles, California. May 30th, 1985. It's 3:45 a.m. A small house rests in the hush of a sleeping neighborhood, wrapped in shadows and the stillness of the early morning. Everything's still. Just the soft buzz of a street lamp and the rustle of palm trees, swaying in the warm breeze. Far off, the faint thunder of the Hollywood freeway hums like distant surf, steady, indifferent, almost lulling. A sprinkler sputters to life, 2 yards over through the air before falling silent again. It should be peaceful. It should be safe. But something in the night feels oddly electric, as if the city itself is bracing for bad news. The house was dead quiet, except for the faint buzz of a long upright fan slowly turning in the corner. The woman, a 34-year-old single mom, couldn't sleep, her mind racing. Sweat beads at her hairline, trickling down behind her ear. She wipes it away, annoyed that even the simplest gesture feels loud. Her pillow is damp on one side, flipped twice already, yet still warm. Somewhere outside a siren yelps once, just once, and then nothing. She cranes her neck, listening, waiting for the Doppler rise, but it never comes. The stillness returns thicker than before. Every night, the news was filled with stories about the Night Stalker, a terrifying predator who broke into homes under the cover of darkness, leaving behind death and lives shattered beyond repair. She checked the clock, 3:45 a.m. The red digits glare like coals. They hadn't changed in what feels like hours, frozen at a moment that refuses to move on. She remembers the anchor's solemn voice replaying in her head, "Lock your doors, bar your windows."
She did.
Everyone did. Yet each report of new victims proves locks don't stop monsters who slip through cracks you didn't know existed. Her son, 12 years old, was asleep in the next room. His soft snores are the only thing keeping her grounded. Her husband died 3 years ago. Losing him had hit them both hard. She promised herself she'd keep her son safe, no matter what. She tugged the sheet up, trying to push down the knot in her stomach. She pictures her son's freckled face, lips parted in a child's unguarded dream, oblivious to night terrors that keep adults awake. Just yesterday, he'd asked if they could go to Dodger Stadium this summer. "Maybe Dad would want us to," he said, still talking about his father in the present tense, as kids sometimes do. The thought stings her eyes, but she blinks it away. Outside, the street was dark, just a few streetlights glowing. She glanced at the window. Curtains still. Everything locked tight, like always since this nightmare started. She pictures her checklist. Front door deadbolt, click. Window latches snap, sliding glass dowel, thud. She'd even stuffed an old broom handle in the track, just in case. Still, dread sits on her chest like a boulder. Because evil, she's learned, doesn't need permission. It just needs opportunity. But the fear wouldn't let go. It was like a heavy weight, sitting on her chest. She shut her eyes, whispering a quick prayer, not knowing that outside, someone was moving closer. Silent steps, a flashlight slicing through the dark like a hunter stalking prey. He pauses at every yard, ears pricked, scanning for alarm systems for dogs, for lights that might flip on. He's in no rush. Patience is part of the thrill. A moth flutters across his beam and fizzles in the glare. He smirks, amused, and creeps on. Then, a creak from the living room. Her breath stopped. Probably nothing, she thought, but her heart started pounding. The wooden floorboard near the sofa, she knows that sound. It flexes whenever her son jumps off the couch. But he's asleep. So, why did it groan now? She counts her own heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, each thump echoing in her ears. She listened hard, the silence feeling heavier, thicker.
Then,
a soft thud, like a window being nudged open. She bolted upright, gripping the sheet, her ears straining over the fan's hum. Was someone in her house? She swings her legs to the floor, feet finding the cool linoleum beneath the carpet's edge, an island of shock that grounds her. Her hand inches toward the nightstand, where a heavy flashlight waits, but her fingers tremble, missing it twice. Somewhere down the hall, the floorboard creaks again. She inhales, holds it, then whispers a single word meant only for herself. Move. And, in the same breath, the bedroom doorknob turns. The nightmare begins. It's 4 a.m. A stranger's in her bedroom, his shadow looming in the glow of a flashlight. He fills the doorway like a living void. Tall. Wiry. A silhouette cut from the darkest ink. The narrow cone of light wavers across floral wallpaper, over framed photos, until it lands on her face. She flinches as if slapped. Don't move. Don't make a peep. A voice growled, sharp and mean. The woman froze, barely breathing, as a flashlight beam hit her eyes. She saw the shine of a gun pointed right at her head. The muzzle glints, an unforgiving star only inches away. She smells metal mixed with sweat and something sour. His breath. Time stretches, elastic and cruel. The guy stepped closer, his face hidden, but he felt dangerous, like pure evil. Get up, he snapped, throwing out ugly words that stung like slaps. Her legs shook as she stood, her mind screaming one thing: her son. She can almost hear her boy's dream-muffled voice down the hall, some half-formed laugh about superheroes. Her vision narrows. Every sense funnels toward protecting him. The guy. Richard Ramirez. Though she didn't know his name yet, grabbed her arm, hard enough to leave marks, and pulled her toward her son's room. Her stomach dropped. Please, not my boy, she whispered, her voice cracking. He didn't care, barging into the kid's room. The bedroom door bangs the wall, rattling baseball posters. Her son jolts awake, eyes wide in the sudden glare. His confusion melts to terror in a heartbeat. Her son woke up, gasping as the man jumped on his bed, pinning him down, gun to his head. Don't look at me, he shouted, his voice rough and scary. The boy whimpered, eyes shut tight, as the man slapped handcuffs on his wrists. Metal bites tender skin. The click is final, invasive. The boy's chest heaves, hiccup sobs catching in his throat. Mom reaches out, but Ramirez shoves her back with the gun barrel, scraping bone. The woman felt like her world was collapsing. Memories of her husband's death, her love for her son, the terror of losing him. It all crashed together, making her dizzy with panic. He's just a kid, she begged. He's been through too much. Take anything, just don't hurt him. She pours every ounce of conviction into the words, voice trembling but earnest, hoping somewhere inside this monster there's a speck of mercy. The man's eyes locked on hers, cold and empty, and he gave a quick, nasty smirk. He shoved the boy into the hallway closet, locking it, the kid's quiet sobs cutting through her like a knife. She felt helpless, like she was drowning, but a tiny spark of fight flared up inside her. She had to keep going. For her son. Holding on through hell. Back in her bedroom, 4:15 a.m. The room feels like a trap. Every sound louder than it should be. The distant freeway hum is gone, swallowed by the heavy quiet. Even the fans were stopped. Blade bumped off balance when he dragged her in, now listing uselessly. He pushed her into her bedroom, forcing her to her knees. He tied her hands with pantyhose, the fabric digging into her skin. Then he threw a pillow over her head, shutting out the light, making every noise sharper, his boots thumping, his heavy breathing, the click of his gun. Darkness intensifies everything. Each scuff of rubber on wood, the rasp of denim seams, the slow grind of his teeth. She can smell his cologne. Cheap, musky, tinged with cigarette smoke. "Don't move," he growled, smacking her back twice, hard enough to make her gasp. She bit her lip to keep quiet, thinking of her son, scared and alone in that closet. She imagines him counting silently in the dark, methodically the way his math teacher taught. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Maybe if he reaches 100, help will come. What came next was brutal, unbearable. His threats never stopped, his voice low and cold. "Scream, and you're both dead." Each command drips with contempt, as though killing were the easiest thing in the world. He lists methods, knife, gun, cord, casually, conversationally, like groceries in a cart. She trembles, bile rising, but refuses to give him the satisfaction of a scream. Her body shook, but her mind clung to her son, his goofy grin, the way he'd giggle over comic books, how he'd hug her tight even now that he was getting older. She couldn't let this guy take their future. Fear was choking her, but anger started burning too, a mom's anger, hot and fierce. Her wrists hurt, her back ached, but she wasn't giving up. She recalls a phrase her husband once said when life got rough: "Courage is fear that said its prayers." She repeats it inside the pillow's stifling darkness. Then something changed. He stopped, stepped back, his breathing uneven. She felt it, a tiny crack in his control. For the first time, she senses hesitation, maybe fatigue, an opening. Her heart was racing, but she made her voice steady. "Why do you do this?" she asked, barely holding it together. To her surprise, he answered, his voice creepy but calm, talking about Satan and power. He speaks of ritual, of signs, of a darkness that chooses him. His words are laced with pride, like a child showing off a report card, twisted and horrifying. She listened hard, memorizing every word, the way he sounded, the slight accent. She asked another question, then another, keeping him talking, stalling. Each word was a chance, a way to fight back. Her fear was huge, but her need to protect her son was bigger. The breaking point. It's now 4:30 a.m. A moment of quiet before everything explodes. The silence feels like a held breath, stretched thin and trembling. He stopped talking all of a sudden. He flipped on the light switch, and the room lit up, harsh and bright. The woman blinked, her eyes stinging as he yanked the pillow off her head. The bare bulb overhead buzzes, washing the peach-colored walls in an anemic white glare. Shadows shrink to the corners like frightened animals. She looked up, and there he was, tall, skinny, his dark hair messy around a face that looked normal but felt wrong. He smiled, not a kind smile, but a sick one, like he was proud of what he'd done. Her stomach twisted, her skin crawling. That smile, it was pure evil, like he was feeding off her fear. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst, but the ties on her wrists kept her stuck. She focuses on details: uneven stubble, a small scar near his left nostril, nicotine stains on 2 front teeth, forcing her mind to catalog evidence, not terror. "You're lucky," he said, his voice low and mocking. "I don't know why I'm letting you live. I've killed before." He leaned in, the gun still in his hand, his breath hot and sour. She forced herself to stare at his face, sharp cheekbones, thin lips, eyes like black holes. She wills herself not to flinch, staring so hard his features burn into memory. If she survives, she'll remember everything. She thought of her son, locked away, and her anger roared louder than her fear. She wasn't going to let this moment break them. She shifts her wrists, feeling the nylon stretch. Maybe, just maybe, if she twists exactly so, it'll fray. A plan sparks in the back of her mind like a struck match. Then, a noise. A creak from the hallway. Soft but clear. His head jerked toward it. That awful smile gone. The tiny sound is thunder in the charged silence. She prays it isn't her boy trying to escape. Prays yet dreads in the same heartbeat. Her heart jumped. Was it her son? Had he gotten free? The man spun, gun up, stomping toward the door. Her breath stopped, fear and hope tangling together. "No," she yelled, her voice raw, breaking his rule. The shout rips from her throat, startling even herself. It's the cry of a cornered lioness, desperate and defiant. He turned back, his face twisted with rage, pointing the gun at her chest. Time froze. She stared into that gun, seeing her son's face, his first birthday, his wobbly steps, his tears after his dad died. She wasn't letting this guy win. "Shut up, or you're dead," he hissed, but his voice shook, like he was losing it. He backed toward the door, eyes flicking to the hallway. Then, fast as he came, he ran to the closet, uncuffed the boy, and chained them both to the bed with the handcuffs. The metal clinked shut, cold on their wrists. He steps back, breathing hard, pulse visible in his neck. For a flash, she sees uncertainty, something she can't name, cross his face. "Call the cops, and my friend will come back to kill you," he growled, then vanished into the night, leaving nothing but quiet and his threat hanging in the air. Coming back strong. A police station, a courtroom, a new start. Dawn seeps through the station's blinds, slanting light across styrofoam cups and clipboards. Officers move softly around them as if volume might break what's left of their composure. The woman and her son sat in the police station, wrapped in blankets, still shaking as they told the cops everything. Her voice trembled as she described the man's face, his creepy smile, the way he talked about Satan. She listed the jewelry he stole, her mom's necklace, her wedding ring, stuff that meant the world to her. An evidence bag lands gently on the desk, a single .22 shell casing, gleaming, damning proof he'd been there. She stares at it, while rising, then looks away. She was still scared, but something stronger was there too. They'd survived. They'd ignore his threat and called the police, wanting to stop him from hurting anyone else. The detective nods, respect in his eyes, and slides a Polaroid lineup across the table. She points. Voice steady now. "That one. Him." Her finger doesn't tremble. A few weeks later. August 31st, 1985. It paid off. The man, Richard Ramirez, was caught, chased down by a crowd in East Los Angeles after his picture hit the news. She watches the footage on a 13-inch TV, neighbors shouting, wielding pipes, courage fueled by collective rage. A stranger's voice on the broadcast yells, "We got him." And she exhales for what feels like the first time all summer. The woman's heart raced when she heard, relief mixed with fear. The months after were tough. Nightmares kept them up, and she felt guilty for what her son went through. But she didn't give up. They got counseling, leaned on neighbors who brought the meals and checked in. She helped her son draw his fears, turning the monster into pictures they could rip up. Little by little, they started to heal, holding on to each other. Halloween came. They left the porch light on and gave out candy, proving to themselves darkness wouldn't dictate their lives. By Christmas, the boy slept with his door cracked open again, not shut. It's now 1989. The women stood in the courtroom, facing Ramirez in a lineup. His voice sent a shiver down her spine, but she didn't look away. "That's him," she said, her voice strong, pointing out the man who'd tried to destroy her. She told the court everything: the attack, the stolen jewelry they found later, the words she'd memorized. Her story helped put him away, convicted on every charge, sentenced to death. Cameras clicked. Reporters scribbled. She ignored them all, focusing on her son in the back row, chin lifted proudly. As she walked out, her son grabbed her hand, his eyes a little brighter, a little stronger. They moved to a new place, a fresh start. The scars didn't vanish, but they got stronger. She started a garden, watching flowers grow where fear used to be. Her son laughed again, reading his comics and writing stories about heroes who never gave up. They'd faced the worst night of their lives and came out on the other side, their love tougher than any shadow. And on quiet evenings, when the garden rustles in the wind and the sprinklers hiss softly, she sometimes still checks the locks. Habit, not fear. Then she pours lemonade, sits beside her son, and they watch the stars, grateful that the darkest night of their lives ended in morning light.